Hey there, Wonder Wendy here again. You may notice this backdrop is just a little bit different from what you've seen in the past. And that's because I'm in an Airbnb in Paris. And these rough hewn beams above my head are the reason I chose this Airbnb. I wanted something rustic. I wanted something different. I didn't want to feel like I was a commercial hotel that I could be at anywhere else in the world. Why would I want to do that? If you're going to go to Paris, the full blown experience. Now, it is a little bit more scary because I don't have a concierge upon whom I can rely. And there are a few more navigation things I need to know about working utilities and how does the Wi Fi work? How do I even get into the building? I will admit that was a little bit daunting, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But I do have a dish towel at home. And bear with me here, as there's always a point to my side stories. And the dish towel reads very simply, ship in harbor is safe. But that's not what a ship is for, is it? Good point. If you have a ship or a life, why are you keeping it in harbor? Why aren't you using your life for what it's intended for? Good question, right? So here I am in Paris because I've been trying to plan a trip with my daughter to go to Paris since 2013. And there never seemed to be a good time for both of us. And this year, my husband said, go. She has a winter break. You have a winter break. Let's go. By the way, I am drinking French wine because I'm in Paris. What else would you do? I will tell you, do not buy your wine at a simple store that does not have a vast wine selection. It says it's a Côte de Rhône, but if it's a Côte de Rhône, it's a really young Côte de Rhône, and I don't really like it. It's acceptable, but I won't be buying this again. I also have a very large bottle of water at hand because I'm traveling, and as I believe staying hydrated is almost as important as enjoying yourself. So back to that ship that you keep in harbor because then it'll be safe. That's not why you have it. And from the moment you start your life, why are you playing it safe? Who are you playing it safe for? Don't you have dreams? Don't you have aspirations? Every single one of those things is going to require you, unfortunately, to step out of your comfort zone. And if you're not ready to step out of your comfort zone once in a while, don't expect anything to change. Not a lick. Nothing's going to change. So after 11 years of trying to plan a trip to Paris with my daughter, here we are in a cozy little Airbnb where I'm still trying to figure out the perfect heat settings. The washer doesn't work, but I have discovered I can do laundry by hand in the sink. And we are just a few hundred meters from Notre Dame. What could be better, right? And we've booked a tour of Notre Dame, and we've booked a few other things to do while we are here. But it's not always safe. And that's hard for a lot of people. And I'm really blessed that my parents exposed me to travel and that I learned I could do a lot more than I thought I could do by the grace of God. Now, the first time I visited Paris was more than 40 years ago. I was with my mother and father, but my father was working during the day. So it feels like I visited Paris with my mother for the most part. We would tootle around and explore. My mother was a fabulous explorer. I don't know what made her so intrepid. She'd grown up on a farm in Vermont. There was absolutely no reason mother should be as fearless as she was, and I don't know where she learned it. And unfortunately, she's gone from us now, so I can never ask the question. And I realized now that when my mother and I did this tour more than 40 years ago, and I was a teenager, she was actually a couple of years younger than I am right now. And I'm trying to remember if I thought she was old or if I thought I should take it easy on her, but I don't think I did. I think I just followed her lead and we explored and we went everywhere. We toured Notre Dame and we went to Versailles. We did the Louvre and a whole lot of crazy things. And I remember there was a soccer match going on, a big soccer match, like a championship soccer match. I'm that American who never followed soccer and really has no appreciation for this. But I know Liverpool was involved because I was a Beatles fan. And it got my attention that there were a bunch of Liverpudlians running around the city. And they were all wearing those Liverpool colors. So they were very easy to spot. That and mostly they were drunk. And so they were not afraid to announce that they were Liverpudlians, because that's what Liverpudlians at least used to do. If you are Liverpudlian, let me know if they still do, because I have absolutely no idea. Anyway, Liverpool, Paris, a lot of drunken boys running around the city. And my parents had a teenage daughter in tow. Maybe they were the ones who should have been more afraid. I'm not entirely certain. Either way, I navigated the city with my mother. But every time I was left unattended, they could find me in the company of some boy from Liverpool, and they would gently extricate me from that situation. I did not get any results from that. I developed no relationships as a direct result, I should say. Anyway, touring Paris with my mother, who was 56 years old at the time, and she led me all over the city. Oh, I get to do the same with my daughter. What a wonderful gift. And I hope her memories are as rich and fabulous as mine are. And I'm so excited to be sharing it with her. The one big advantage of having a daughter who's late into her 20s is we can share this bottle of wine. And I know she already knows how to enjoy wine and to enjoy food, and it makes life a lot easier to have her as my travel companion. Of course, I also raised her, so she has my same sense of humor. We have had several laughing fits today. One started when I couldn't work the key in the Airbnb and the door wouldn't first unlock and then lock. And these challenges, they're big, they're real, they're not big. They're momentary setbacks that make you feel pretty dumb because you don't know what you're doing. But guess what? When you relax and you overcome it, you are that ship that's okay being at sea. Back to that being safe versus having experiences and doing what you are meant to do. So, what are you going to do with these thoughts? We've been talking a lot about going into the new year with a new view and a new attitude. And it may not be a trip to France, it may not be a trip anywhere bigger than 2 hours from your home. But what are you going to do that gets you to test your limits, to move towards your dreams and away from the things that are limiting you? On the plane over here to Paris, I watched a really interesting movie. I'm not going to say it's a great movie, but it's an interesting movie. It's titled Thelma, and it's about a woman who's in her 90s. I don't want to give away any spoilers, so I'm going to try and summarize it a little bit. She gets scammed, a phone scam, $10,000 in cash out of her hands into the hands of the scammers. And she decides she's going to get it back. She's going to get back her $10,000. Her family says, sometimes you just got to let things go. The police have already tried. The police say they won't be able to get your money back. She gets frustrated with everybody telling her what she can't do. She's in her 90s. She doesn't move really fast. Her balance isn't always stable. And she has had moments of dementia. So there are questions about whether she should be out on her own. And her grandson feels horribly responsible for her. But she manages to escape from his grip, finds an ally, a partner who's going to help her on this adventure. And she starts an incredible adventure to try and get her $10,000 back. Now, I'm not going to tell you everything that happened in that movie because if you're intrigued, I think you should watch it. There's a lot of good points in it, some phenomenal acting. It's hard to watch at times because as much as I tell you and I tell myself we're limitless and we're moving towards limitless, as we age, sometimes our bodies betray us. But that happens to younger people too. They get injured, they lose some of their abilities, and they find their life changing. Change is, well, the only constant, right? So how do we live this rich, full life? How do we move forward? How do I challenge ourselves? How can we take that ship out of harbor and really do what we're supposed to be doing with our lives? Sometimes there's not a roadmap. Some things are really obvious. You're taught how to go through school, how to apply for college, how to move forward. Here's how you fill out a resume. Here's how you get your first job. Honestly, sometimes those roadmaps aren't really good roadmaps. You're not really getting the best advice that you should be getting because you're following somebody else's roadmap. I started a podcast this year. There was no roadmap for what I was doing. I have somebody working with me to make it a little bit easier. But as I said last week, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly we're doing. And it was funny. I was talking to a man in the London airport. I got stranded because my flight was delayed and I missed my connecting flight. So I got to spend some extra time in London Heathrow Airport. Wasn't horrible. A little daunting because I was frustrated that I was already supposed to be in Paris, but whatever. Had a fabulous conversation with a gentleman. And somehow we started interviewing me about what do I do and what is my podcast about? And I said, it's about living your best life. And then I started talking about how I wasn't even sure why I was doing it because I'm not getting anything from it. It's just something I feel called to do. I think it's going to lead me somewhere, but I don't know where yet. And he didn't even hesitate. He said, "You are giving." He's the first person who's ever said that to me. It was really interesting to have a complete stranger summarize something that I couldn't see. I hope I'm giving you something. I honestly do hope that. But if not, you're probably not going to keep listening. If I am, please figure out what you're getting from this and share it with somebody else who might benefit from hearing this message. Somebody else who needs to hear that they're keeping their ship in harbor and they're playing it safe and they're not getting where they need to be. And that may be a trip, that may be moving on to a new job, that may be challenging yourself to make your relationship better, that may be challenging yourself to not rely on a relationship. It may be any number of things. Maybe learning to swim. If you never learned to swim, that's a good skill to have. But it's hard to learn as an adult because classes are all geared towards children. Although I do understand they have adult classes. So if you haven't yet learned to swim, find your local YMCA, find a local facility, and ask them if they have adult classes. And if they don't, ask them why not? Because they should. So here I am in Paris, and we're debating, do we overschedule our week or do we see what comes? This afternoon, we just wandered. We walked and went, that looks interesting. We popped into stores and we went to a Christmas market. And then we saw this cafe that was beautifully illuminated. And I said, that's where I want to have my coffee and a snack. And we went in and had delightful coffee and a snack. It was beautiful. Sometimes it's scary. You don't always know where you're going. I recently talked to a friend who said she likes travel, but she only travels with travel companies on tours because she doesn't feel confident in her ability to find her own way around. Now, I'm not going to tell you that part is easy. Lord knows I had to screw on my confidence today because I took the train and I went out and picked my daughter up at the airport and brought her back on the same train. Coming back's a lot easier because you've seen it before, but not entirely easy. So heading out, I asked the gate man at the ticket window, I need a ticket round trip to get to Charles de Gaulle Airport. He says, okay. He sells me my ticket. And then I go through the turnstile. It's not till I get through the turnstile that I look at the map on the wall. Charles de Gaulle is not on that map I'm looking at. So I look at it again. It's still not there. I look at it again. It's still not there. I upload the app. The app is not giving me the answers I want. I'm a little frustrated at this point. And then I stand there and look a little bit lost. And I see this woman who caught my eye. And I said, excusez-moi, Charles de Gaulle. She says, airport. I said, oui. So I just said, excuse me, named the airport. She said, I'm looking for the airport. I said, yes. And she said, ah. And she gave me directions to go down a flight of stairs, across a landing, down another flight of stairs. And then she told me which staircase to take. She was lovely. Actually, she had no French accent. A little part of me wonders if she was an American who just has a wonderful grasp of French. But we didn't have long enough to talk, and she was obviously on her way to something, and I didn't want to delay her. I said, merci, which is thank you in French, and I was on my way. Following her directions, I found the right train platform, and I'm standing there, and I start seeing people coming down with baggage. Clue number one, I am heading to the right place because these are probably people heading to the airport. And then I see somebody who is clearly a flight attendant. Clue number two, definitely heading to the airport. And I end up sitting next to the attendant on the train. And I lean into her and I say, thank you so much. It was when I saw you that I knew I was taking the right train to go to Charles de Gaulle. And she says, I have bad days too. It may be not. She had a sense of humor. Well, we ended up talking. She gave me travel recommendations, and she was a delight. She also pointed out where I could get a good cup of coffee while I waited for my daughter's flight to arrive. Finding friends like that is important. I mean, good wine is even more important, but actually, is it more important than having good friends? We'll go with the good friends and good wine second. But good friends and good wine makes for a fabulous day, at least in my book. And if you don't want to have wine with me, you can have your coffee, you can have your soda, you can have your bottle of water. I am not going to judge you if you have a different beverage from me. And if you don't want an alcoholic beverage or you don't want caffeine, but stay hydrated. Remember, always important. Anyway, flight attendant, found the airport, found a decent cup of coffee, bought a bottle of water for my daughter because I realized she's getting off the plane. She's going to want to stay hydrated because everybody's dehydrated getting off the plane. Found her, after a little bit of adventure, we found our way back to the train and got her back easy, easy peasy. Oh, did I mention our Airbnb is on the third floor? So we were both exhausted dragging the bags up the stairs, but we made it because remember last week, I am unlimited. I remember that my potential is far greater than even I know it is. And that's the hard part of life. We've put these limits on ourselves. We've got these fears that keep us from pushing our ship off the shore, out of the harbor, because we're afraid something could go wrong. Okay, something can go wrong at home. You don't have to travel for that to happen. And if you're just staying home, what kind of life are you having? I'm a big advocate of the wonderful bucket list life, a life full of wonder that you are pursuing and making that list ever longer. Because I want you to live your best life, not just live longer. I want you to be like that woman, Thelma, who goes out, takes names, kicks ass, and gets her $10,000 back. God bless her heart. I was terrified halfway through that movie she wasn't going to make it, but she did. So I want you to be like her. Go out, have the adventure, even if it's just taking a scooter across town. I want you to have an adventure because life should be full of wonder. So this is me, Wonder Wendy, coming to you from Paris. By the time you see this, I may be back in my bed in Arizona, but I want you to know, reach for it. Look for the charm. Have the adventure. Live your best life. Don't stay in harbor because you're afraid. What are you waiting for? We've all heard about that person who had lovely items still in their original wrapping in the closet when they died because they were saving it for something. They didn't know what. And instead, it got sold at their estate sale. Don't be that person. Use it now. Live your best life. And until next week, I'm Wonder Wendy. Okay, I'm an imperfect prophet. I chose a mediocre wine. I'm not a wine expert, but I'm having a great time. And I'm thinking of you as I'm here in Paris and wondering where your adventures will take you in 2025. Please reach out to me on social media. You know where to find me. My website is Wonder Wendy and Friends. I have my Facebook page, The Wonder-Full Bucket List Life. I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you are changing your life. I want to hear what you're afraid of. I want to hear what your dreams are. I want us to be a community of people who are taking that ship and putting out from the harbor, even if it's just for a day excursion. You don't have to go all the way across the ocean, but get out of harbor and do it sooner rather than later. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, au revoir. And that is goodbye in French. Have a wonderful week.